Hiya, it's Owlet here, reviewing the episode of Doctor Who Robot of Sherwood, written by Mark Gatiss, and wow, oh wow, was Mark Gatiss on top form for this week's episode. His writing was incredible. The dialogue was just so comedically seamless, and it was packed full of innuendo, and the banter was the right amounts of ridiculous as well as believable, and it was just fantastic. All of the characters were so rich, and I just really enjoyed this episode. So this is going to be me with a happy face on the entire time when I discuss this. So let's get on with the review. Okay, Robot of Sherwood. It's times like these I wish I hadn't thrown out my Robin Hood hat, because I knew it would come in handy and today would have been perfect. Could have been rocking my Robin Hood hat, but alas, I will have to do it without the hat. It was a great episode. I loved that 12 went into Sherwood Forest really cynical. He's kind of that perfect antisocial grump who doesn't want to go to a party that everyone else is going to, but you know, your best friend's twisted your arm, so you're going to this party and you know you're not going to have a good time. You just know, because it's not your type of party. So you go there and you're grumpy and you spend the entire time trying to find something to justify your feelings of saying, see, look, I told you this party would be bad, or see, I knew I wouldn't have a good time. And it was just such a relatable type of personality, at least in my experience. And just the fact that by the end of it he'd kind of been won over and coincidentally had a good time, I just loved that. I liked that he was the typical grumpy old man with impeccably good tasting clothing. I mean, that shirt with that blazer, was it a blazer or the tailcoat? I don't know. It was very Sherlock though. Purple fitted collar with the black coat. I mean, he's got the bright red lapel on the inside, but I was like, I see what you did there, Moffat and Gatiss. Yeah, I'm following. So that was really cool. I do kind of like though that he had that kind of homeless shabby chic look in the first episode, and I kind of would like if he wasn't as clean cut, but it does fit that whole reptilian cat-like thing that I was talking about last week, so I'm all for streamlined fashion sense, why not? Clara in this was divine. She does taekwondo, she's sassy, she's opinionated, she's sweet and caring, she's pretty much quite possibly the most perfect human being in all of the Whoniverse. So wow, mad props to her. I loved that she was supportive of Robin, and in a way that wasn't like instantly romantic. I know a lot of the times, like, even though she'd always wanted to meet Robin Hood and it was like a childhood idol of hers, she wasn't like, oh, swoon, sigh, let's get married and go off into the sunset. She was like, oh no, I know who Marion is and I wish you all the best. And I really like that about Clara, and I really like that they've written her like that, instead of her being just, I don't know, the type to give her heart away at the drop of a hat kind of thing. I think that's a nice refreshing change. I mean, I still miss Rory and his reluctance to be a companion, because I found that character really interesting, but I feel like Clara is slowly starting to fill the Donna Noble shaped hole in my heart. So it's very nice to have a new companion that, she's not even that new at this point, but she's transformed so much. She's no longer a prop, which is what I've been saying. So she's gone from just being this thing in the background who says a line that kind of ties, that's related, and become this character that basically drives the episode, which is just fantastic. I absolutely love that. So yay, let's keep having that happen. I loved all the subtleties in this episode. It was really cheeky. So we had 12 flip off Robin Hood as he put his glove on to do sword fighting. There was definitely a middle finger raised there. And a lot of the dialogue was quite adult, but in a way that would kind of go over kids' heads, so a bit like Toy Story and Pixar. And, you know, it was very, I think it was strategic and on purpose to have this Robin Hood kind of portrayed in the Carrie Lewis, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I apologize, Carrie. But from Men in Tights and Princess Bride, there was definitely that kind of vibe going on with the sword fighting, with the witty one-liners, with the, well, I know I'm handsome and I love to laugh, ha ha ha, kind of thing. And I really loved that, because who doesn't love Men in Tights and Princess Bride? Not just Men in Tights, the actual movie Men in Tights about Robin Hood. I mean, yes, who doesn't love Men in Tights as well? Why not? I'm all for equal opportunity there in interests. The casting was brilliant. I found it quite funny though to see our beloved Boff from Johnny English playing the Sheriff of Nottingham, but hey, he can do bad guys just as well as he can be adorable, sweet secret agents. So that was really great fun. Just the set was beautiful, the costumes were stunning, everything was really so well tied together. It was a cohesive masterpiece of an episode. I think that's the best way I could possibly describe it. There were moments where my belief had to be suspended, and they were really small moments, like when they were having the archery competition. The sheriff's technique was really questionable at best. I'm like, there's no way you got a bullseye using that archery technique, but it's a very small thing. I love that they all then competed for the archery, and I like that 12 then later confessed that he cheated because he was simply trying to show off, because he felt like his stance as being the cool superhero was, well, not the superhero, but the hero was being, you know, challenged by Robin Hood. Which was interesting because he's so much like, I'm not the hero, I wish Clara didn't idolize me, I don't know who Clara's talking about when she says that she believes in impossible heroes, like, it's definitely not me. But there's still this part of him that wants to have her approval and have her be like, yes, Doctor, you're awesome. And I don't know if that stems from the insecurity from the start where he was worried that he's not a good man and that Clara doesn't know who he is anymore. So there genuinely could be some concern there that if he doesn't play his hero card or doesn't be seen in a light that Clara likes, that he has the risk of losing her. And I know the Doctor does definitely fear being alone, and unfortunately the nature of who he is and what he does means that he often does end up alone. So it's really interesting to see how that comes out in episodes. Sometimes it comes across really aggressively, and then sometimes it comes across in this kind of childish competitive way, but it's still, it might seem childish, but it's a genuine fear, and it's one that adults definitely carry as well, even if they're 9,000 years old. The robots were never really explained, but I guess they're going to be explained later because they're going to the Promised Land. They felt a bit like Cybermen with their, I'm just going to delete things that don't seem like they are of any use to anyone anymore, but that's okay. I'm so glad they weren't Cybermen though, because nothing annoys me more than just constantly recycling the big baddies. And since we had Daleks last week, Cybermen would have just been too much. So I'm all happy for the new Purple Cross robots of Sherwood that were not really explained. It felt like a kind of a collage of different types of episodes. It felt a bit like Vampires of Venice, and it also felt a bit like The Lodger in its comedic twists and turns and the way that they were kind of jousting both with words and probably actually jousting because it's medieval times. Okay, I can't think of really much else to say. Okay, so I've run out of things to say really. That episode was just so great. So there are all the things that I liked about it, and there was basically nothing that I didn't like about it. I mean, there were definitely times when the banter got a bit ridiculous, but it worked. It worked in a way that was amusing. It wasn't so over the top that you were like, oh really, this is just too much. And I just feel like in some ways 12 was perfect for this episode, and I was thinking to myself while watching it, this would not have worked with 11. And it's not to say that I don't love 11, I just think it would have been a very, very different episode had Matt Smith still been the Doctor. He would have been so happy to see the Merry Men and so overjoyed at the idea of impossible people from history being real, and I think he would have joined the band of Merry Men and they all would have skipped off into the forest, and there's nothing wrong with that. That episode would have been good, but it would have been so different, and I feel like this one was almost better in the way that 12 was the one who, for a Peter Pan reference, didn't believe in fairies, and by the end of it did, and even gave Robin Hood his maid Marian, which was just a really sweet gesture. And I don't know where that arrow that Robin shot up into the end went. It probably hit the TARDIS, which wouldn't have impressed 12, but let's hope they dematerialise before that. But yes, that was a really great, happy, whimsical, wonderful episode. The preview for next week looks absolutely terrifying, so Doctor Who's done that thing where it gives us all our happiness and then is going to make us really scared and really upset in the next one, I think. So, but fingers crossed that it's well written, because then, well, we can discuss another happy, wonderful Doctor Who review, even if it is a terrifying one. But yes, that was a great one, and I will see you all next week. Toodles!